club, we did an activity called Women Right. And there are 14 of my lovely friends who wrote for this. And I tell you, what you have written is so special. And we made the two other trustees, Naga and Arunmani, read and pick 4 or 5 pieces that can be read to this audience today. We didn't judge anything. It is not a prize, it's not a contest, nothing. We just thought these are appropriate to be heard here. Some are too intimate to be read here. So, but it was very special having you all write, because I know perspectives change for me being a woman. And when somebody wrote, like when Neela wrote a piece, I know the men, both of them, Arunmani and Naga, who've been with me when I shot a documentary, they were handling camera, and they saw a cesarean process, a delivery process. I saw a prostate gland surgery and all these things. So as genders, getting aware of each other of problems was so interesting. Neela, your piece, I know Arunmani, me and Naga discussed it so much, because birthing process பத்தி அப்பாவா இருக்காங்க, ஹஸ்பண்டா இருக்காங்க, pornography பார்ப்பாங்க. But what do you know really about the இதுங்கிறது when a woman writes about it made so much of a difference. So thanks to all those 14 people who immediately jumped and wrote. It was really special. And we just said we want, it could be autobiographical, it could be memories, it could be observations, in your perspectives which will speak about a woman looking at something. So தாமரை மாதிரி எழுத்தாளர்கள் வந்து when they are writing lyrics in Tamil cinema, some of the most famous songs you all would have heard is written by a woman. And we recently, I think, when we went to Gautam Menon's 25-year celebration, she was acknowledged there. But I remember many times when Vairamuthu writes only about how I feel as a woman when a man touches me, it sometimes doesn't feel real. அவங்க சிலப்போ வாங்கிக்கிட்டு எழுதியிருக்கலாம், பட் நான் என்ன உணர்றேங்கிறது நான் எழுதுறது இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் ஆகுது. In that way, all the 14 of you, all your entries were very special. And thank you so much. One of our members, Kaveri's daughter, Shruti, who now and then comes when we, as such, the film club is only 18 plus people, but she comes once in a while when below 18 are allowed. So I'm going to call both of them, Kaveri and Shruti, onto stage first, so that they read what they wrote for this Women Right. Please come on stage.
Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. Permission. I am very good at finishing things. Emails, deadlines, lunch boxes, arguments in my head. I am less skilled at sitting down without earning it. Rest has always felt like something I have to qualify for. As though somewhere, someone is checking whether I've done enough to deserve stillness. Even leisure must multitask. If I watch something, I'm making a to-do list. If I sit down, I answer messages. If I pause, I justify it. For years, I didn't dislike myself. I just negotiated myself. Adjusted tone, lowered volume, apologized quickly, made jokes about my own flaws before anyone else could. Now, as I'm pushing into my 40s, not quite there, but close enough to see it, something has shifted. The urgency has softened. The need to impress has thinned out. And I've started noticing her, my daughter, watching. We look at old college photos and she'll say, "Ma, you're so pretty." Not you were, you are. And I'll begin out of habit. Yes, when I was thinner, she stops me. "Stop it, Ma. You're beautiful. It doesn't matter if you're thin or not." She says it firmly, like she's correcting a grammar mistake. And I smile, not because she thinks I'm pretty, but because she knows what kindness is, and she knows how to use it. When I bump into something and apologize instantly, she says every time, "You don't have to apologize, Ma. It was an accident." So now, I don't comment on my double chin. I don't hesitate to ask for the plus size if that's what fits. I don't let passive remarks slide off my back. I question them calmly, clearly, because my 13-year-old must know that questions are part of our rights. If I'm tired, I say it. I'm tired today. Can you fill my cup? When I see she is tired, I ask, How can I fill your cup today? These are not loud teaching moments. There are no speeches, no dramatic declarations. Just small corrections, small permissions, small shifts in posture. And then she is not memorizing my words, she is studying my permission. So now, when I sit down in the afternoon light and do nothing at all, when I let a chore wait, when I say I'm tired without making an excuse, I'm not being indulgent. I'm rewriting something, not just for me, but for the girl who is learning quietly what a woman is allowed to be. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I want to thank you all for this opportunity to talk today. Um, Feminism. I remember not so long ago, I thought being a feminist meant doing big, brave things like Emmeline Pankhurst, such as chaining yourself to a railing to stand up for women's rights to vote, or Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat on a bus meant for the fair toned people. I thought you needed to stand up for something huge, like the fact that pale people were the only ones allowed to use the bus, or fighting for the right to vote. I was with some friends and we were like casually teasing each other. You're annoying, he had said. So are you, I had retorted, smiling because I could feel an argument coming on. No, you're annoying since you're a girl. I'm sorry, what? I was almost sure I hadn't heard him right. All the casualness quickly evaporated. You're annoying since you're a girl, he repeated, assuming I hadn't heard. There was a grin on his face, egging me on. Someone else had heard it this time. Someone he wished who hadn't. A gal friend sitting next to us, yapping with other friends. I had always pinned her as charming, bold, and a little bossy. She was never afraid to say what was on her mind, something I respect her for, and maybe am a little envious about. She snapped her head back. You say that again, she whispered. The room fell into a deafening silence. I said, say that again, she growled, a little louder this time, her eyes full of fire. The guy, now apparently too scared to speak, slowly started scooting his chair away from her. Too scared to say it now? Why? If you said it before, you can say it again, can't you? She glared at him and the onlookers, suddenly realizing the audience around us. Never say something like that again. You're disrespecting the women of the world. Say that again and I'll make sure you regret it. She turned to me. You okay? She asked, the anger suddenly replaced with gentleness. Yeah, I'm okay, I mumbled, still reeling from the shock of having a friend who would stand up for me. I turned to my friend. He was red. Maybe I needed some new friends. Today, I know that being a feminist is changing the small, hurtful things. Being a feminist means feeling someone else's pain. Being a feminist means you fight back for what is right, whether it's big or small. It means sticking to girl code and not letting a poorly made statement pass without consequences. She stopped talking to him, and as far as I know, she still doesn't. And I don't either. Thank you.
So next we'll have Anu and Neela.
Hi, good morning, all. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Lesson. I should teach her a lesson. I hate people chewing pan, more so in the morning hours. I see her whenever I pass this side. Not worth seeing, of course. Can't have this basic knowledge. She is illiterate, I can see. But she communicates with people, and all of them know. It is sad, unlike in liquor bottles and cigarette packs, warning signs cannot be printed on the leaves. Yes, betel leaves. Carcinogenic if consumed continuously. I wish you can print it. But what use? She has the excuse she can't read. How to bring some sense into her? Every passing day made me vehemently oppose her habit. I decided I will face her and bring some sense into her. Next day, I went closer to her to give her a bit of my mind. Wrinkles on her face more pronounced than what I saw from far. Still munching? I was at peak of my anger. Brought my BP to near normal. and tried to sound polite as my education has trained me. Amma, don't you know chewing pan can bring cancer? Daily I see you. Expected a sudden realization in her. Sadly, it's not happening. I am not her Bodhi tree. I realized when she smiled. Feeble voice. Nalla iru tayi. What to do? For the amount I earn, I can buy these leaves only. This only can keep my hunger at bay for the whole day. I have become old, and this is what I am capable of earning. And she smiled. Dark skin, roasted under the sun. Survival is must, and food is luxury. The war inside her is between hunger and cancer. I was hit hard at the reality of her life. That rigid and hard rock, solidified by ethics, morals, etc., which was my heart, broke to pieces. I melted inside. Sorry for her or for me. Reality so bright blinded my critic eye. How cruel her life could be to give a choice of hunger and cancer. Hobson's choice. Salute to the brave fight she is putting up. Every single day and night. Not giving up is commendable. That judgmental me is gone now. Lesson learned. Yes, lesson I learned. Thank you.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Neela and I've written an essay about the threshold of a woman. The threshold of a woman. As a birth worker, I stand at the literal and metamorphical doorway of life. My role is to hold space, but often I find myself holding a shield in the sterile, fluorescent glare of the delivery suite. The transition into motherhood is frequently stripped of its sanctity, replaced by a clinical efficiency that forgets the soul inside the skin. That there's a real person making another real person, and the process of birth is physiological and not clinical. There is a specific, quiet agony in the loss of modesty. I have watched countless women lie back with their legs in stirrups, a position that feels less like a biological necessity and more like a surrender of autonomy, just to suit the convenience of the care provider, even though evidence based research suggests upright positions where one can take advantage of gravity and change in positions facilitating faster and efficient birth. In this vulnerable state, the room becomes a revolving door. Doctors, nurses, and technicians, both men and women, drift in and out, often without a knock or a glance at the woman's face. To the staff, it's just another Tuesday. To the woman, it is an invasive exposure that can trigger a primal freeze response. When a woman's dignity is treated as an afterthought, the body often tenses, stalling the very labor it is trying to complete. I see it in their eyes, the flicker of shame that has no business being in a birth room. This discomfort rarely exists in a vacuum. I often witness the heavy presence of transgenerational trauma. When a woman feels dehumanized in birth, she's often tapping into a lineage of mother wounds, the unhealed cycle of neglect or silencing passed down from her mother and her mother before her. However, my work is also to unearth transgenerational wisdom. This is the cellular memory of strength, the ancestral knowing that women have birthed in community for millennia. The labor room is a battleground between these two forces, the wound that says, you are just a vessel, and the wisdom that says, you are a creator. Motherhood is often romanticized as an instant, euphoric click, And when it happens, it is breathtaking. I've seen women weep with a joy so fierce it feels like it could light the room. But I have also stood in the heavy silence of the unwanted touch. I remember a specific birth where the mother, exhausted and hollowed out by her own trauma, refused to even look at her newborn. When the nurse placed the baby on her chest, she pulled away, her hands trembling not with fatigue, but with a profound disconnect. This pushed me to a silent phase, and in fact, pausing doula work for about a year. The impact of seeing a mother reject her child is a unique kind of heartbreak. As a woman, it vibrates through my own body. It forces me to confront the reality that the maternal instinct is not a light switch, but a complex tapestry that can be torn by pain, depression, or a lack of support. It reminds me that birth doesn't just create a baby, it exposes every crack in a woman's foundation. Witnessing these extremes of the cherished and the shunned has taught me that the environment of the birth room is not a secondary detail, it is the foundation along with all the other things. When we ignore a woman's modesty, when we give her a second hand treatment as a wife, as a daughter, as a sister, we aren't just being cruel, we are risking the fracture of her bond with her child and herself. This is just the tip of the iceberg, considering the demonic postpartum that is unsupported and longer, battling hormonal changes, lack of sleep, constantly attached baby to the breast, amidst all the other household duties that has no way to be paused. As a woman in birth work, I continue to knock on doors, dim the lights, and remind the world that a woman in labor is not a patient to be processed, but a person standing at the edge of a great mystery. We must protect that space for the sake of the mother, the child, and the generations yet to come, considering it sacred, holy, and pure. Although my rant would fill pages and pages, and we have just grazed upon the most common birth experiences of a woman, I've made it my life's goal to make an impact on women that I come across by educating and empowering them one woman at a time.
Kelvigal, Shakti was my role model. While many of her peers chose conventional marriages with successful IIT MS USA pathwaymen, she built her own identity first. A professional and entrepreneur, fiercely independent, she married in her late 30s on her own terms. To me, she was everything a woman should aspire to be: strong, confident, outspoken, and self made. The early years of her marriage seemed lively: parties and outings, fun, laughter, and friends. But beneath the surface were red flags she skillfully skirted with the ease of a Formula One racer in training. Whenever she spent time talking to friends or family, she would return to the room to find her husband gone. His explanation was always casual: "We're busy." Gradually, she stopped taking calls. It was easier than confronting the issues growing between them. She began attending family functions alone, rushing back to fulfill the vague, demanding role of a good wife. Her sister's calls dwindled too, as her husband insisted on privacy, carefully controlling what she could share. The questions began. Why couldn't she share her life with her tribe? Why couldn't he compromise occasionally, even over something as simple as food? Why did evenings with his friends become sessions of wife jokes, which are like never funny? Why did he withdraw whenever she spent time with her own friends? Why were finances never discussed with her, though they shared joint account? Every reasonable question was dismissed with, "You wouldn't understand." And then there was the biggest elephant in the room: the babies she was losing every month. She would look into the bloody toilet every month and cry her heart out, looking at those that could have been Riyas or Aksharas, Deepaks or Sharats. Her funny, witty genes, her spunk, sassiness, his humor and curly hair. Each month ended in quiet grief, in tears shed alone. No conversations, no medical discussions, no shared sorrow. There were excuses aplenty, all pointing at her own inadequacies. "You're too noisy. Amma, here. You were late. I was tired. You've put on weight. Have you looked at yourself in the mirror lately? Always not enough. The questions multiplied. Why should appearance matter in a marriage? Why must she silence herself? Why did she have to change who she was? But she tried. She blamed her career, adjusted her clothes, matched accessories, and softened her voice. None of it brought her closer to answers or to motherhood. Still, the whys persisted. Why was she expected to transform while he remained untouched? Why did she have to control who entered their home? Why was she excluded from financial transparency? Desperate, she turned to the internet, searching for explanations. Why men avoid children? How to win affection, even whether her husband might be hiding truths about himself. Deep down, she feared knowing the answers. Maintaining the facade of a fun, rocking couple seemed easier than confronting reality. When she finally raised her concerns, he responded with silence. 3 days of it. I met Shakti after a decade, a shadow of her former self, unrecognizable, shrunk her larger than life, fierce persona into a small box which was her house, not home. I had grown up with her as a template and I told her so. All I got in return was, just be yourself, child. You don't need a template, with a wistful smile. There is no end to this story, just more Kelvigal. Why an empowered, strong woman should even have the above whys. Why are women taught to perfect the role of a good wife before defining what makes a good husband? Why do they erase their pre-marriage identities to fit expectations of a good daughter-in-law, good homemaker, good mother, good everything? And the most haunting question of all, why are they so rarely good to themselves? The questions remain lurking around. Thank you.
With passing years, the way the society has been redefining manhood, womanhood, several things, inclusivity, and I think as groups of people with cinema, we learn to listen to other perspectives. So all those 14 friends, Valikanu who wrote in Tamil, several others, Sita, do I see the others? Everyone who wrote, Jayanti and everyone, thank you so much for participating, and we'll definitely share this with the larger group. I remember when we started this film club in 2012, we never played films of people who came here. Vetrimaran Vandappo, we had Kenava, World War film. Gautam Menon Vandappo, Center for Women. I think that was the first time Shankar had come to CR also. Several people, I remember, Eyes Wide Shut was when Ram came, I think. Then there was Samudra Kani Vandappo, இன்னொரு film. So it's almost like we got to know them from what they appreciated in society. That's a lovely way of knowing people, what they talk. Because, so today being Women's Day, we could have celebrated in so many ways, women voices. It was these vulnerable thoughts women expressed, having observed them from society around them. This is a person's perspective. You could have an alternate perspective. Your life could have shown something else. But so all of us have a voice and we should voice that. So it feels lovely to be here. So now we are coming to, close the Women's Day celebration.